once you hit the road. Good day, peoples. As you can see, something a bit different today. We're going to talk about that unique feeling you have on departure day when you leave on a long motorcycle tour. Something that is hard to put in words. The excitement, the bit of madness, the build-up, just the build-up alone. Whew. Heyo, folks. A good day. Hope you're having one. Out here it's pretty good since, as you can see, the sun is back and then I'm very easy to please. So like I said, something a bit different today where I share experiences from my motorcycle travels with you guys and lay bare the common ground we traverse when we're out there on our personal adventures. And I expect these stories to still contain some nuggets of information here and there that might end up being useful to you guys. And this time, it's all about departure day and the experiences that I had on those days. I've had more than a few departure days going on long motorcycle tours, and the one that I'm still on has had about 5 or so. The biggest one of them all being, of course, the one in Amsterdam 4 years ago when it all started. And then there were the smaller ones over the years that followed after long stints of work to make money for the trip, each with their own mixed bag of emotions and circumstances that made them unique. And then there were the other journeys before that, like my first big ride from Amsterdam to Istanbul, the capital of Turkey. I've got almost no footage of that trip because my buddy's laptop, where we kept all the videos, crapped out during the last couple of days. Man, like a punch to the gut that was. Big lesson learned, and I travel with heaps of these nowadays, and I always keep copies and backups. And then there were the departures of the shorter motorcycle rides through Vietnam and the one through China. In Vietnam, I had to find a place where they would rent out a motorcycle, and it turned out to be pretty easy, and the guy didn't even want a copy of my passport or any other document for that matter. Absolutely brilliant. I love that kind of hassle-free, no bullshit experience. And off I went with my backpack on the back of a 110cc powerhouse. Woo! China was unique because I was going to meet up with a mate of mine and we still had to buy motorcycles there. And we did. In Chongqing, this massive city with 20 million people living there at least. We ended up at this place somewhere on this big industrial slab where we tried out heaps of motorbikes, and within an hour we bought one each. Glorious 125cc Kington and John Ling. We rode off just brimming with excitement to the max. Holy shit, we're in China on motorbikes. All the while realizing that what we were doing probably wasn't legal, and so we try to be as inconspicuous as possible since there's a lot of police in China. Seriously. A lot of police. Imagine every vehicle you've ever seen, land, sea, and air. In China, there's a police version of that vehicle. We did not intend to lose our new toys on the first day. Funny thing is though that on the way back to the hostel in the dark, one of us ran out of fuel. Classic. So much for trying not to stand out. And we ended up having a blast riding around the country on those bikes for a few weeks. To us, those were the best bikes in the world, and they were all we needed. Any bike can be an adventure bike for that matter, and there's a video where I talk about that more. China was absolutely mad, and my biggest mistake was not staying longer and head out northwest to go and check out the Gobi Desert. But that first big trip to Istanbul and back in 2011 will forever be special. It lasted about a month and a bit in the summer, and I was just itching to get away from my university for a while. I had a bit of a love-hate relationship with uni, so anyway, I was good to go, ready for a real ride. And I got my Transalp a few months before departure. I wanted a motorcycle that could go anywhere, anytime, wouldn't break down, and was affordable. And the Transalp was just that. It was almost criminal how much bike I got for 1,250 euros. And with 45,000 kilometers on the clock. I was going to ride with 2 other guys, but then one of them dropped out and he was the common friend between us. So me and the other guy decided to properly meet each other and figure out if we were still going to go on this ride together. We had a nice day of bonding. You know, long walk on the beach. He asked me about my favorite color. I asked him about his favorite food. It was a grand old day, and when riding for a long time with other people, I highly recommend that you actually know the other people. What do you know? I talk about that in one of my other videos. But the excitement of leaving on that trip, we talked about it for days on end. We barely prepped and we would figure out the route on the way there. Just roll out. It's all just tarmac. How hard can it be, right? And then the day is there and you roll out and you're filling up at the petrol station, and all of a sudden it all starts to feel real. Though of course there were still a few side missions. I needed to get this, he needed to get that. You never really seem to depart at the time that you expected to depart. And then in the evening, camping just across the Dutch-German border on the seashore, you sit down, you drink, you eat, you watch the sunset, and all of a sudden it sinks in. You realize that it's finally happening. You're doing it. That ended up being the ride that changed everything, you know, ruined me for life. Outside the hostel in Istanbul, there stood a few bikes parked. One of them being Africa Twin, OG one. It had big fat panniers and a top case, and I loved it. And I wondered, what was out there on the other side of that big beautiful bridge across the Bosphorus on the Asian continent? And the seed got planted then and there to go find out myself one day. And that's what I did 3 years later after having finished my masters and traveled through Southeast Asia and Australia for a while. It was time for the big one. After having worked in Australia for a bit, I managed to save up some money, and I had the feeling I was doing it for this big trip. So on my flight back to the Netherlands, the idea of doing my own ride was alive and well in my mind. Could I do it? I've always wanted to do something different with my life, and I knew what was potentially waiting for me back in the Netherlands. How I would get sucked back into a familiar routine, and then one day in my 40s or 50s probably wonder what the hell happened. A couple of months passed, and I even made a CV at some point, not with a lot of conviction. Nah, this ain't me. I already played it safe in uni for 5 years, and not again. And then one morning, it was clear as day to me. I'm gonna do this. Prep my trip in 3 weeks, and I'll save you the details for some other time. But once I put down that deposit for my carnet, there was no more turning back, and it felt good. It felt like I had a purpose again. No, the departure day was so hectic and unorganized. Time just kept getting away from me, and it felt like I had less and less of it while I had more and more and more to do. I'd been in balls to the wall, eat, sleep, and organized repeat mode for over a week by then. All the while on repeat, I gotta go, I gotta go. Bruce, do you think this is madness?
This is madness. But everything will be alright.
Everything will be just fine. This is the madness machine. Said goodbye to my friends and left Amsterdam and rode down south to say goodbye to my family and pick up the last items and strap them on the motorbike. The complete antithesis of a well planned out departure. Didn't record any footage for the whole day except for one clip in Amsterdam. Feelings of excitement, confusion, worry, and sheer determination intermittently surfacing, and then we finally left in the late afternoon just after sunset had kicked in. A mate of mine joined me on his bike for the first day. I'm going, I'm doing it. And when we crossed the Dutch-German border, it was already dark, and we went looking for a camping spot around the lake. My mate helps me out the next day with a few things, and I hand him some items that I decided not to bring along anymore. We say goodbye and he's off, and there I was, all on my own now at this German petrol station in the rain, sitting on top of this beautiful machine with the world at my feet. What do I do now? It was the strangest question to ask myself, like I didn't know anymore. I could go anywhere at any time now, and I think I was paralyzed for almost an hour. It was all up to me now, and it felt absolutely surreal. Though in all of this uncertainty, I felt more in control of my faith than I ever did during those 3 months back in the Netherlands. I just said goodbye to Bruce. I'm in Germany, just over the border at Venlo, and basically right now I'm free to go wherever I want, which is pretty cool, I guess. And then I hit the road, which turned out to be a good start. That mad feeling of departure, folks. I bet that more than a few of you watching are familiar with that. Let me know in the comments what you think of videos like this one, yay or nay. And let me know about your departure experiences. Where did you go and why? How did it feel? Let us know. Alright, please don't forget to sub if you haven't already. And if you would like to support this journey or the channel, there's a link down in the description. This is all I do now. I spend most of my time making these videos, and I love it, and any help is welcome. Thanks. And let the throttle hand go nuts on the like button if you can spare a second on your way out. So, go ride, stay upright, and I'll see y'all soon enough. Ciao.